So I pretty much made a MCU tier list, which is literally my definitive version of the MCU films. And make no mistake, my dear fellow honest viewers, I'm gonna piss off a lot of people. That sounds familiar. Oh well. Well, as you all know, my name is CyberKnight-Miky, and let's go and piss off a lot of people, shall we? So to start off with the overall list, I literally made few rankings, which is S tier, which is amazing, A for awesome, B for great, C for good, D for mid, which is just neither good or bad, and E for bad, and then F, the worst thing ever, which you can see the glimpse of some films. But I will explain some of the films. Some of them are literally two films in one list. I'll explain later. But for now, yes, ranked, I literally put Avengers Infinity War. Hold on, let me just bring the mic here, just so you get a little bit more quality. Which is pretty much amazing, and pretty much everyone knows it's the best Avenger film out there, which won't lie. Then we had this second Spider-Man film by Tobey Maguire, and literally the second Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, which is one of my childhood films, and I actually really love this. And of course, the one that pretty much started everything, and it still holds up to this day for having amazing special effects and story, which is Iron Man. Of course, while the villain, he's not the best and kind of it's the weakest point, but still not the worst villain. And of course we have Civil War, which of course pretty much have the highest stakes and of course sums up the kind of pretty much heroes fighting each other, but for good reasons. I mean, one literally signed up for the military, for the government. The other, which is Captain America, who did not, who pretty much the previous film questions the loyalty about the government, and now he pretty much is a criminal. I mean, this is a superhero that literally fighting. It's literally how America should be, but not just being an symbol for United States, but also for the world. And of course, Tony Stark, who he also has an arc as well. And the ending, wow, it was emotional. Let's just say that. But of course, let's sum up with another film that is pretty awesome, which of course is pretty much began the best kind of crossover, which is Avengers. Of course, I love this film, and of course the comedy, pretty good. Of course, it does feel a little bit one-dimensional with the scripting, but the execution with all the things that happen is pretty damn good. I would not deny that. And of course we have Guardians of the Galaxy, which nobody even knew it existed, but once we saw this film, and of course it started with Chris Pratt's career, which, my goodness, this film was pretty awesome. Of course the villain, while pretty bland, was pretty threatening despite being a bland villain. Of course, then we have Captain America Winter Soldier, which I know some of people that kind of feel it sucks perspective. But for me, it still is a pretty good film, a pretty great film as well. That includes, well, Captain America questioning the government, and then the plot and the twist that Shield was actually Hydra, and then his friend being brainwashed, which was pretty damn neat twist. And of course learning what the hell happened, and of course higher stakes and a lot of seriousness, and I do love that. So in my perspective, pretty good film. And then we have the first Spider-Man film, which, while it is a bit goofy and all that such, but it still holds up despite the effects being a bit wonky. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But and of course some characters like MJ kind of feel not this MJ we all known for in the comics, but this version pretty alright. But Green Goblin, which of course I just forgot to mention, Otto Octavius there, amazing villain. And then this villain that's pretty much started, well, goofy looking suit, still memorable to this day. And of course all the things that happened. Still, of course, I pretty much grew up with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, so especially Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, amazing. And I forgot to add one thing, but I'll explain later. But yeah, while we are pretty much done with the awesome tier, now we go for the great ones, which kind of question the B, but I just put there because, hey, there's stuff there is pretty great in some perspective, and these are literally the shows, which it was a long time ago I saw them, but honestly, considering they were on their own as a films, they were pretty damn great. With the Punisher, Daredevil, some may question why, but still, as their own, they pretty much work pretty neatly. Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, while not as good as the first one, it still pretty much holds up. I pretty much have pretty much also have pretty much Yonder, who is pretty much the best character in the film, and of course the villain, which turns out the villain was pretty much well, Peter Quill's father, who is literally named is Ego and sort of a celestial question mark. He's more of a parasite, if we can agree on. Now you kind of question this one. It kind of looks weird and doesn't fit in. Well, I literally put this one in because I literally put this one as great as fan service. As a fan service film, it's pretty damn neat. With all the memorable characters, all that sort of stuff, such as the villains. I'll explain the overall story material later, but when Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and all the famous villains, and some are not, but the interaction all with the other is pretty great. Pretty great watch. But I will talk about the actual tier, what I put it later on. But for now, let's go to the good tier, which of course is, well, and Tom Holland's first Spider-Man film, which is Homecoming, which does have some flaws, and of course their MJ at the beginning was pretty much hateable. I mean, she literally kind of bullies Peter Parker, but in some scenes she was pretty good, but still, this was literally the overall start of this film, which he tried to learn of his responsibility. And I will mention about the responsibility about this Peter Parker, and of course the Iron Man scenes are pretty good as well. And of course this villain, who is Vulture, amazing. Pretty much one of the best villains next to Thanos, and then Ultron, and then, well, Loki, and of course Zemo. Because now we'll move on. Speaking of Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron. Now this is a film that literally was an underrated film. I mean, back then it was pretty not as good as the first film, and everyone kind of not liking it a lot. And of course later films like Infinity War pretty much slapped its ass and pretty much become a little bit better. But and of course the villain, while pretty much great, kind of suffers with the overall, well, Marvel Studios mix of pure evil and sympathetic elements each other, which they do a lot. I will not argue, because while I drink my coffee, the point is they kind of pretty much dumb down this villain pretty much just to, instead of just being what he's supposed to be, they kind of mix up the sympathetic elements to him, which kind of makes him a bit of a mixed bag. Which he pretty much was the one villain that suffered a lot. Well, he was a 50-50. Oh no, of course, Thanos was like 80-20. Like 80 pure evilness and 20 sympathetic, which was interesting, still kind of is a bit flawed. But watching this now, not that bad. And honestly, it's kind of refreshing because I do miss this film. Oh, because the latest film, oh boy, were they a stinker pile of crap. Let me just explain this later, because right now we come to films that are pretty much, some pretty much put them at mid tier, but for me, they're pretty good. Well, they could have had a bit better execution, like Captain America, with of course pretty much Captain Carter, who is pretty amazing, pretty great character, pretty badass woman without any powers, and of course Jane, who pretty much is a pretty much scientist. But actually, their kind of chemistry of the romance is pretty, well, pretty balanced, if I do say so. And of course, this villain, Red Skull, which he later on appeared in, well, Infinity War, but in this film, he was, well, not as we would have hoped for, and his kind of makeup a bit, and not pretty alright, if I do say so myself, but all I gotta say is these two, well, some wonkiness with the effects, they are pretty good films. That's all I'm gonna say, because oh god, why didn't I edit that one off? I should have. Never mind. Right now we're gonna move on to the Amazing Spider-Man film, which this film pretty much was pretty good, but it did have flaws back then. But it may not be as great as Andrew Garfield. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but Andrew Garfield, for me, was pretty much the better Spider-Man, to be honest. I mean, Andrew Garfield literally was a fan of Spider-Man, and when he pretty much came back there, he was actually on energy to become actually Peter Parker, and this is literally a Spider-Man that literally actually feels like Spider-Man. Well, some kind of questioning, but still, he kind of pretty much loves the role of being Spider-Man, and this film literally says that. But of course, the story point, well, pretty good as well, but villain could have been better, but still love the effects, and of course, understand the reason somewhat, but the villains in the Tobey Maguire is a tad bit better, but they are still memorable. I still remember them, even though they are kind of weak, but still, I remember them. I should have put this in the mid tier, because let's just ignore this and I'll explain later, because let's move on to Ant-Man, which this was an era when the people kind of get a little bit tired of seriousness, and they wanted a little bit more comedy, and this film kind of gave us that, just pure comedy, which I don't mind, because this actually was a pretty damn neat, fun film to watch. Of course, the effects, well, we know the reason. Victoria, well, she's fired now. Hooray. But, yeah, this film, well, instead of Hank Pym being Ant-Man, and pretty much, this film, he should have pretty much created Ultron, but they literally pretty much changed Ultron's backstory, with Tony Stark creating Ultron instead of Hank Pym, because in the comics, Ant-Man was pretty much the creator who made this AI who gone rogue. But in this film, well, they kind of mix up a little bit, but still good. Same goes to Iron Man, which this is literally the last Iron Man film. And of course, well, they kind of butchered Mandarin. I know the reason why they trying to not include Mandarin, but at the same time, it is a kind of a villain nonetheless. And they didn't want to go for the racist route, which this is Disney we're talking about. You already do that. So I don't pretty much know what the hell they were thinking back then, but yeah. There's still some good elements in this film, but of course, there was also others that could have been better. And of course, we are focusing on that film. Aside from this film, it was pretty good. But right now, we're gonna focus on The Defenders, which I guess some people don't remember it, but for me, I remember it being good. Of course, it was a pretty damn long series, but watching it was actually pretty entertaining, I must say. And of course, there were some story elements that was a little bit dragging, but in short, it was pretty damn good. Doctor Strange. Now, this is a good film that was pretty good when Doctor Strange pretty much sucks, but of course, this was also the kind of downfall of, the seriousness, because I do remember when Doctor Strange had the cape and then the cape slaps. That was the sign of bad things happened. But still, the overall build up to introducing the magic element, how this magic actually draws the energy across the dimensions of the multiverse, which they pretty much retcon later on, which is pretty stupid. But this is actually how they introduced the multiverse. The multiverse was not something that was pretty much new. It was pretty much common there. And I know you're gonna say, but the multiverse is other places, there's a different timeline. Well, multiverses doesn't matter. Realms, timelines, doesn't matter. If they are part of multiverse, they are multiverse. And of course, they pretty much kind of changed his backstory to become something like Tony Stark, which were a bit mistakes, and of course there's surgery and kind of medical house logic of it kind of also is a bit questionable. Like there are some aspects that Benedict did. I mean, this Doctor Strange is kind of a little bit of a dumbass. I mean, if you look at when he's trying to repair his arm, which he kind of struggles, and of course he literally makes his excuse that it doesn't work. Well, maybe try a lighter weight first and then build up. I mean, it is pretty common in real life. I mean, it's a struggle, yeah, but yes, because you pretty much have idiots that pretty much stab metal through your hand. Yes, it is pretty stupid, but you still could have literally just built up. But seriously, why did they literally do that? Yeah, like stabbing metal through his hand. It's not gonna repair things. But of course, there's something that was pretty neat is that there was pretty much the rules and aspects of about how using magic, that what you can do and what you cannot do. And of course, if you pretty much draw on that you cannot pretty much bend reality out of the mirror dimension unless you pretty much go for pretty much use the energy and of course magic through the dark realm, just like the villain and of course Ancient do, which they pretty much are the ones that pretty much bend reality outside the mirror dimension, which they literally use dark magic. That's literally how you pretty much can do that. In regular magic, you cannot bend reality outside the mirror dimension. I just wish someone actually made research before making a sequel, because this also had a pretty much a neat kind of betrayal where Mordor pretty much betrays them, pretty much going on a rampage, getting rid of magicians and wizards. I wonder why they didn't make a sequel out of that. Still though, pretty good film. But it's a lowest of low. But now let's go to the mid tier, which they aren't bad, but they aren't good either. But in my mind, the highest is a little bit good in some aspects. They're kind of okay, to be exact. Such as Iron Man 2, which pretty much suffered from having a kind of weakest villain, or kind of worse, because the villain was pretty interesting, but he was boring and kind of didn't have done that much. And of course, Jeremy, the guy that literally, Jerry, that pretty much is a competitor to Stark Industry, kind of alright. But of course, it is pretty much high because it did introduce Black Widow, and of course, War Machine, which they pretty much changed actor afterwards, which they kind of made a joke, which didn't really land that well. And of course, they didn't pretty much do that with, Mark Ruffalo's, which, thank goodness, She-Hulk. But yeah, but it still had pretty much stakes, like Tony Stark pretty much dying. But of course, this is literally just a starter, which I don't mind. Just as Hulk, which is the best film, the Hulk film out there. But it doesn't say that much because it still suffered with quality writing. Of course, this was the time when Edward pretty much got out of there because he had bad chemistry in the studio of Marvel, which I don't blame him, because this actor, I remember him from other films that he was pretty good at. And this film pretty much, I pretty much did like this kind of Hulk, even though they could have gone a little bit more of the backstory, because this is still a Universal film, which they pretty much had the rights to the Hulk, which not even Disney could get him fully right. Dummies. But still though, a pretty okay film. Just like Spider-Man 3, which is the weakest Spider-Man film out there. Weakest of the three, but it's, in my perspective, I still grew up with it. I still liked it. Still an aspect that was pretty much alright, that was questionable, but and of course the new Goblin was pretty weaker than the first one, but still though, it was still an entertaining film nonetheless. And of course, it's still stakes, and of course seriousness, despite having some actors that are pretty bad, but still enjoyable, I gotta say. Iron Fist, a mediocre show that pretty much suffered by the critics. And watching it, I do understand, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. But yeah, it could have gone a little bit better. Dark World, which is what they consider the weakest 4 film out there. An overrated statement. I would say it was pretty much weak at that time, but watching it now, pretty much remember it. It still had stakes that I do pretty much enjoy, but it still kind of suffered back then, because there was still aspect that, while they could have done it a bit better, and such as the villain, which is pure evil villain, but he was so damn boring and had no interesting. I mean, they did have a great actor. It's just that they didn't write it better enough. But of course, there's a lot of things that are pretty damn dark with the Dark Elves. They could have gotten a little bit more, spice up with the Norse mythology, And of course, the introduction of the Reality Stone, or Reality Gem, I'm just gonna call that. But yeah, but it is still an enjoyable film that I still remembered. And of course, later on, they did something that was unbelievably stupid. But for now, let's go to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which at that time, yes, I gotta say at that time, or right now, is the worst Spider-Man film out there? Question mark? Because it's, even though it is a kind of sort of a bad film, I mean, or not that bad, but not good either, I pretty much enjoyed this film. Even though the villains kind of suffered, and of course the pacing kind of a bit mixed, but still had a bit stakes. While question mark stakes, there were stakes nonetheless. Now let's go and talk about the film that was supposed to talk. Well, first off, let's talk about the Venom films, which were a bit flawed, questioning, pretty okay. While the first villain in the first Venom film, pretty bland. Next, a little bit interesting. Could have been gone a little bit more. I mean, the story as well. But I still kind of enjoyed it. A lot of pretty much intensity. And of course the effects were kind of questioning. I mean, I still kind of enjoyed the characters. Despite, well, what just happened. But I could say I kind of enjoy these films more the more I think about them than I do with Far From Home. Which I would place it right now at mid-tier. Because here is the thing about why I kind of put it a good, but also would put it in mid, because remember when I stated that the first film literally had him pretty much had him trying to learn about his responsibility? Well, in this case, this Spider-Man gave up his responsibility with the Tony Stark's glasses to a stranger. He learned nothing from the previous and pretty much went full on dumb mode. I mean, after the end game, Spider-Man just went through a big arc of pure and unadulterated nonsense. And while MJ pretty much became a little bit better, and the one was pretty damn cute, this Spider-Man Tom Holland's Spider-Man began to suffer a bit. I mean, this is also the film that kind of learned about taking responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility, which he kind of learned in the first film, and then this film trying to regain it, which it would not last because. But then again, this was also the film that pretty much Disney and Sony kind of had an argument. And of course, the villain. Oh boy. And of course the joke about this dimension being 616, which of course they made a joke out of it because it would have been bullshit, because this is not 616. But still, I would put it mid-tier. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I don't like this film as much. And now we come to the controversial. Remember how people will say that they pretty much like Black Panther, Ragnarok, or Endgame, and how they are pretty much superior to what came before. I put them at low mid-tier. I put them at low mid-tier. Here's the reason. While Endgame pretty much, well, the overall, I would say the Endgame was pretty much the Endgame, which of course was in the alright finale, which for me it was pretty much the end of the overall saga for me. But what happens next was pure and unadulterated bullcrap. I mean, you had all the build up to have Thanos be an intense and menacing villain, and you killed him off immediately, while he pretty much destroyed the stones. I mean, I think he tried to have a reason, but it was a stupid reason. You literally destroyed the stones. I mean, even pure evil villains wouldn't pretty much destroy the stones. They pretty much would have pretty much used them for great evil. I mean, literally, Jack Horner and Darth Vader, or even fucking Titan from Megamind, would pretty much use these stones for great evil. And they would know it would be pretty stupid to destroy them, because you just wasted powerful source of weapons that was created by the universe itself. And they could, what I pretty much imagine about this film is that they could pretty much gone to the comic era where the reason why Thanos pretty much want to have the stones is not they just to get rid of humanity, get rid of 50% of population of the universe to get resources, but to pretty much impress Lady Death, Mistress Death, which he was pretty much an incel. Yes, he was an incel, and of course, incels are pretty powerful when they're villains. I mean, trust me, they exist. So it was pretty much a sim. And of course, it would have been a great arc to see that. But Kevin Feige had other plans, and of course, okay, the killing off Black Widow, killing off Iron Man, and killing off Captain America. And this was also the film that pretty much destroyed me, when they literally had the best four and they just dumped him down to make him a Lebowski kind of character, which I think they pretty much nerfed all the strongest characters just to have the most horrendous, boring, and just loser that is called Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Because let me just say, Captain Marvel, despite her first appearance film, this film did not even change her a bit. She is still the blandest kind of Plank. Even Plank from Eddie and Eddie has more personality than this Plank. Because my goodness, they tried to make her look heroic, but kind of forget to have one element, which is called, I don't know, character. Which she did not even have. I mean, what kind of personality does she have? I mean, she's just a fucking smirky, arrogant asshole. And I'm talking about the actor, and they literally had the act, which the actor is pretty accurate, but remembering the characteristics of Captain Marvel, what character does she have? Really? And this was also the start of the whole era of MCU, which was pretty much a sign that we kind of glanced over, which wasn't really looking good. And of course, kind of Tony Stark's greatest, selfish act, which is just, instead of just going back just to pretty much sacrifice. I mean, there were some moments that could have just been great, like when the rubble pretty much crushed, Hulk Banner, and when he's trying to get out there, all the rage he's trying to contain himself pretty much burst out, and Hulk came back. It could have been better. And of course, Hulk, for pretty much finally getting his strength and becoming the Thor we've known in Infinity War. But instead, we got nonsense. And of course, the selfish act of Tony Stark, which, yes, his sacrifice was pretty emotional, but could have been much more greater if he used the Infinity Stones, snapped to literally nanoseconds before Thanos snapped half of the universe, and pretty much, stopping all these things that happen, and pretty much sacrifice his daughter for it. Because without sacrifice, there cannot be victory. And I know you say, but he literally have a daughter. But here's the thing. It's better off you to sacrifice to have your daughter a better future than keeping what you have. I mean, they could have had a funeral as well, but when we look at the Pepper Potts, she literally hold hands over her belly, signifying that their daughter is still gonna happen. Like, she pretty much will exist, just not having any relationship with her father. That would have been more emotional and more striking and much better executed thing. And of course, Black Widow would have survived as well. But what we got was something that I could not even imagine. And this is also the film that went from good when I first saw it to now, the more I think about it, the more I don't like this film. I'm sorry, but no. Same goes to Ragnarok, which was pretty good when I first saw it, but now when I think about it and all this nonsense that Taika Waititi pretty much said, I mean, sure, the Korg was pretty entertaining there, it was already fine, but seeing more and more, hold on, let me just see a phone, if, let's just see if okay, here's a problem, it was pretty fine when they literally interact with one of each other, like Hulk and all this sort of stuff, they pretty much did great, but seeing what happened in Love and Thunder and, well, Chris Hemsworth pretty much response and how he didn't enjoy the filming Love and Thunder and for Ragnarok, and of course the story of how one kind of director was supposed to pretty much make the film, however they never respond to her. The more I hear these kind of stories and the more I research and look furthermore into this film and the jokes and how they pretty much went the arc of changing the backstory of the villains, the more I don't like it. I mean, they literally went from, Hela pretty much went from being daughter of Loki to daughter of Odin, which, how the fuck does that make sense? And they literally just tried to do that because, well, Taika Waititi never knew a lot about Norse mythology and just didn't even care about it, which the more, when I pretty much seeing the tweet and of course hearing his response that he was never a fan of the comics and didn't even go up with it or even read, he just only read one but never at all. That is just the breaking point. And the more I see this film and the jokes when it was a serious moment, they make a joke out of it. How the fuck am I supposed to enjoy that? And of course, you thought when Black Panther had the final scene where the CGI looked wonky? Nah, Hela literally had that kind of wonkiness, like she looked like goo when she moved. And of course, the executioner, like, I mean, here's the thing. Tell me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't it make more sense if it was Enchantress and Executioner? Because Enchantress exists. Why couldn't they have her as a villain in this story? Instead of just have Hela, which is supposed to be daughter of Loki, and how they could have also gotten an arc of Loki kind of had a secret and pretty much had a child long time before and pretty much never told anybody. But instead, they literally just retconned it just to fit in this story, and the more I see this film, the retcon was a mistake. Like, seriously, the retcon was a big mistake. I get why people kind of like retcons when they're doing a good reason, but this, no. And all the realms you could have picked that was pretty much in Norse mythology, like the 9 realms. Of all the 9 realms you could have picked, like, you could have picked Muspelheim, Niflheim, Helheim, hell, even Svolfheim, or Alfheim, or Jotunheim, or Midgard. You picked a trash planet, which Hulk was supposed to be there. And here's the question, how the fuck did Hulk even get this in this place? I mean, they literally had an arc in the Age of Ultron, how he literally how they kind of suspected that he kind of crash landed in the Antarctica, like the ship literally went in on Earth, because how the hell did the Queen jet literally gone pristine, clean looking condition after the crash? How the hell does that even make sense? And of course, 4. They went from a kind of an intense warrior but has intelligence to pure himbo idiot. And considering he has Alzheimer's, well, Chris Hemsworth having Alzheimer's, that is not good. I'm sorry, but and of course they have this stupid reason of having the same as the first or kind of the second, but questioning himself who he's supposed to be, kind of thing, which is a bit fucking weak. And of course, Surtur, who is also becoming Ragnar. I mean, they could have become something better, but instead they just went crap. I'm really questioning people's taste at this point. Same goes to this film, Black Panther. Well, the actor Chadwick Boseman and all the others did a pretty good job, but the story was a bit mess. And the more I look into this film, the more it makes less sense. It just doesn't make sense about this Wakanda. I mean, also, of course, Andy Serkis villain about Claw, they went from serious in Age of Ultron to a pure and underrated, well, crazy man. Like, you could have gone so much intense and actually awesome moment, and you write him as different, pretty much look like an idiot. And of course, the dumb reason of people saying that Killmonger is a sympathetic villain. How the oh yeah, sympathetic villain, yeah. I also would relate a sympathetic villain who literally killed his girlfriend and literally almost threatening others and literally killing a dozen of fucking people. All that sort of stuff. He is no sympathetic villain. Sympathetic villains don't fucking kill people just because he's a fucking villain. This is just a pure evil villain mixed with sympathetic nonsense again. I mean, pure evil villain enjoy being evil and killing others, while sympathetic villains, well, they just antagonists, but they just do this because they have no choice. But still, well, yes, he had no choice, but still, these reasons is just pure dumb. It just doesn't make any sense. And don't give me that about the Black Agenda. No, I'm just complaining about him as a character. I mean, they literally changed his origin and pretty much character from being a different character that isn't even a relative to T'Challa or T'Chaka. But in this story, he is pretty much a sibling, which he should not do that. Which both of these films pretty much pulled the Wolverine kind of nonsense on us. You know, when they literally had Sabretooth being a sibling to Wolverine when they are not. That kind of bullcrap. And of course, the kind of adding the African culture into this story instead of just doing something good about this story. They just add in the African culture and of course political nonsense just to make an excuse of bad writing. And people just bought it. They ate that shit up. Seriously, people, I really question your taste. And of course, they went from a great T'Challa in Civil War to a dumbass. I mean, here's also good, and of course the inclusion of the overall plant, the herb. Like, if you're saying that this herb literally gave you power, why the hell didn't T'Chaka use the power to save himself from the bombing? The more you think about it, the less what kind of makes sense. It's just dumb. And this film really steps down the more I think about it. But of course, Shuri and of course others kind of did a great job nonetheless, and of course to Chadwick Boseman. but he was pretty weak. This film, nonetheless, is weak, despite all the things that happen. Get out of here. Of course, just... Anyway, hold on. Let's just do that. Okay, now we get to the things that people will eat me up. I actually added No Way Home at bad tier. And here's my reason, because when you think about what happened before Far From Home, how he learned nothing from the previous film, and how he didn't have any responsibility at all, this film stepped that up. He didn't learn anything from before. And when he brought the baddies into a goddamn flat, into the building where a lot of people live, and how the stakes would have been higher, sure, he wanted to help them, but still, when he literally brought them in, that's the just stupidest thing he could have done. He didn't know the risks. He thought he could have helped them, but he forgot to add that they are fucking villains. And of course, when he literally tried to use magic, all I try to say is, there's no plot here. The plot is bare minimum. It's just non-existent. The only plot there is just stupid plot. I mean, both Peter Parker and Doctor Strange literally are pretty much been sickened by, pretty much been influenced, literally been diseased, pretty much been affected by stupid plot, where Doctor Strange willingly want to manipulate and literally harm reality just to literally have Peter Parker make everyone forget who he is. And that would be a catastrophic event, how he literally would destroy everything. That is just stupid. I may not have grown up with the Marvel comics, but when I literally researched, I would know that the actual Doctor Strange wouldn't do such dumb reasons. Like, what the fuck? And of course, yes, sure, there are moments that are pretty neat, but when you think about it more and more, and of course the execution of this Peter Parker, well, instead of the actually learning responsibility of himself, he literally got help by two Spider-Mans who literally learned to literally have full responsibility, like great power with great responsibility, and literally picked them up themselves. And of course, they literally have the redemption arc in this film. But for Tom Holland, he needed help by more. And of course, his actions. What the hell? He needed help by more Spider-Mans than literally. And before you ask about, well, Spider-Verse literally, but well, he literally, they literally told him just that they also had a great loss, and then they just leave him because in that film, it was science that literally caused the multiverse nonsense instead of fucking magic, which actually makes no sense. The science that when multiverses pretty much colliding each other, I mean, they're trying to fix something. And of course, Miles Morales, well, being a different Spider-Man, literally try to pick himself up. And of course, getting us actually a little bit helped by some, but still, he pretty much pulled this thing up by his own. I mean, he still had more interesting development than this Tom Holland Spider-Man. I mean, this Tom Holland Spider-Man literally just felt so damn hateable after seeing this film. I mean, they literally had. The more I see this film, I literally respect literally like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man more than Tom Holland's, because my god, his actions just makes me really hate this Spider-Man. And of course, when he literally learned, he kind of literally make everyone forget now, which the villain's also kind of interesting because they didn't really well, Electro know who's Peter Parker is, because when Andrew Garfield literally came up, there was a woke moment where he literally thought that he was black because he thought that because he literally saved lives. That is a yikes moment. And I actually learned that a little bit more than I think about it, because my god. Yeah, this film, not that good. The more I see it. Good fan service film. But a film in general, no, it's bad. It's bad. Same goes to Bad the Wasp. And I remember less about it because, I mean, what the hell was the overall plot? Like, I know they about saying pretty much bringing back the wife and the mother, but what happens next? Well, that's the good question, because I have a good memory about stories and arcs, and trying to remember what the hell is the reason. It's a bit questionable, and of course, the villain, they literally changed gender just so they can have this sympathetic plot. And quote me if I'm wrong, but I remember correctly that this villain's supposed to be a male. And even when I looked up, they literally state that this man that he called Ghost was a guy. So they literally changed gender just to have more sympathetic feeling for this villain. Marvel and Disney. I understand what you're going for, but man. And of course, I might literally take a back seat and let just Wasp have her moments, and even her kind of got her back seated in the next film. Like, what? And she didn't even do that much in the next film. We kind of question, what the hell is this supposed to be? Like, the more I think about it, the more I kind of do not like this film. I mean, I do love the actors and superhero kind of scenario, but the more I think about it, it's just, yeah, it's not that good. Same goes to Wonder Woman. I mean, it had a good kind of beginning. I mean, the kind of idea about sitcoms. I mean, kind of old TV sitcoms where the laughter, laugh stocks, and of course the kind of the enjoyability of the old times, which was pretty good. But then they literally ruined it more and more, and of course, knowing that the writers are pretty much like have no clue what to do. I also kind of question that these are also the writers of Rick and Morty. I don't know, but I do know that the writers of Rick and Morty are pretty much that one, and of course that one. But for Wonder Vision, they kind of trying to have her be more like actually trying to make her interesting, even though she did an awful thing like enslaving a ton of people, which she tried to have an arc and try to learn from a mistake, but also never facing them because she just escapes later on. And of course the moment where they kind of stated that they would not remember what you did in this town, which, knowing about Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange knew. Why wasn't he there to try to help them? I mean, he literally stated in Ragnarok that he could sense evil threats such as Loki, and one that is one of the threats who is powerful, he could have gone there and helped out. But then they introduce a new kind of villain that they trying to push in to make a show, which it's not gonna happen. It's gotta push back. Oh, I got a sense it's not gonna happen. I mean, she literally had an arc that was pretty much non-existent afterwards because Sam Raimi did not even see this. So, oh boy, this was a waste of time. And of course, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which... why does this exist? Same as this, I mean, this is just a documentary, and I don't know why they include this. I'm just gonna put it right there. And then I mean Groot, I mean, cute, but also boring. Such as these, I mean, they are pretty much the good aspects of Phase 4, I guess. But it's just boring. I mean, what? They just retconning so much. I mean, of course, they pretty much added this kind of Miss Marvel just to demote Brie Larson, which they should pretty much fire her, but still. And then also race swap just to have some diversity and representation, because nowadays modern Phase 4 and 5, they add these kind of actors just to have diversity and representation. And the more you're trying to make that, I'm sorry, but they are just have to go down. You should have more of actually good plot, good story, good content, and going for quality instead of quantity, because my goodness, these are just a waste of time. And same with this, I mean, I didn't even know this existed. And what if, I mean, the concept but kind of a bit ruined with the animation and of course story writing, which, the more I think about it, the more I kind of did not like it. And of course Hawkeye, which, what a waste. Of course I do kind of get why they're trying to make, I mean, she kind of is a little bit more interesting than, well, Ironheart or America Chavez, but which she had a little bit more development, but still, it's just so boring. It's just a waste, and they kind of make also the kind of nonsense that they literally have a man cry so easily, like Tobey Maguire easy, but even worse. And then we have the Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier that kind of had neat setup, but then ruined after the ending, which is just woke. I mean, all of this stuff is just woke. Which is, oh my god, how the hell did they waste it? And of course, the more I think about it, the less they should not exist. I mean, they literally had... I mean, there's a lot of things that they kind of just butcher just for representation of wokeness and political nonsense. Same as this film. What the hell did they do to Namor? They went from a actual shad looking guy who was actually half Atlantean and half human, mortal, American, which his father was an American and her mother, who was pretty much a hot looking Atlantean, who is a queen, a princess or a queen right now. And I looked up and boy, was she looking juicy. I mean, wait, hold on. Fenn, which Fenn was pretty much a known character in the comics, which she's literally mother of Namor, and how the hell did they just butcher this story? Oh yeah, because of representation, that's why. Hold on. Hold up. This is what the Fed literally looks like, and boy, how the hell did they butcher the neat looking villain, kind of mother character? They could have gone good quality and actually good content out of that. I mean, the comics literally did this. I mean, literally develop and actually have some good shit. And then just went for actual just human that became, well, not actual humans, because they literally just changed their backstory just to have some representation, and of course having, well, for bullshit reason, having vibranium. Like, what? Literally, Marvel cinematic universe is becoming much of a joke now. Instead of just being actual Atlanteans, they literally changed their race to Talokanil, which is just what? I mean, they literally butchered their this version of Fen. Like, what the hell happened? This is not the Fen. If I would have known the Fen, it would have been in comics. And the more I seen the film again, like, oh boy, do I miss the actual Marvel comic goodness, because even though I did not grow up, I still respect them. I actually look up the comics in Google and actually look up and read, and they have good shit. This is just nothing but woke, political propaganda, feminist nonsense, all that sort of stuff that I pretty much stated in other films. And this is also something that's also a bit dumb. They should have recasted Black Panther. They should have recasted it for sure after Chadwick Boseman died. I mean, they literally did it in the past. I mean, remember when I mentioned about the actors who pretty much played Rhodey and Bruce Banner? They literally changed actors. They didn't just go off screen and kill them off. No, they pretty much recast them after they went. And before you ask, they remember the first Harry Potter film when the actor pretty much passed away? Did they literally kill them off screen in the second film? No, they recast. Just like Unicorn, when Orson Welles actually passed away after the first Transformers film, the Transformers the movie. Did they literally, well, have him absent in Unicorn absent after when the first season or fourth season happened? No, they literally recast it to another actor who pretty much did a neat job. It's just like Mako, who pretty much voiced the character of Aku and Iroh. I mean, he literally was their voice actor. Mako Iwamatsu, who literally voiced Iroh and Aku. But like Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Aku from Samurai Jack. Beloved franchises that they did not want to kill off the character. You know what they did? They recast him with kind of a student named Greg Baldwin. who pretty much did a great impression of both these characters. Do you see what I'm coming at? This is just nonsense. And of course, they literally add more of the African culture into Wakanda, which they shouldn't even do. And of course, try to have some LGS, the kind of pride things in this, but which only had 2 seconds in it. And of course, inclusion Ironheart, which they literally include, instead of including legendary characters, legendary icons, legacy icons that was pretty much popular in stories that was pretty much sold by millions, and then added characters that having stories that literally sold by thousands, including Ironheart, which is not even a legacy character, and she was pretty much flipping pointless. And of course, having the kind of trope of female girl character that pretty much can do anything with kind of science and stuff for bullshit reason. And Shuri already exists. Why do we need her as well? They just want to have Ironheart after Robert Downey Jr. just left, which is a good reason because now we know Disney's true color. But that doesn't matter because my biggest joy of this is just the backlash and how pointless this film is, and of course the ending, which is just bullcrap. And of course, Namor being yet again one of the villains that's just a sympathetic villain, but is also a genocidal maniac, just like the first film, but even worse. And nothing makes sense. But you know what's also good? That this literally bombed in China when they released it in Black History Month. At least Disney, I do love you. See, destroy yourself. Talking about this film is gonna bring me joy because they how dumb these films are. Just like Captain Marvel. Like, did anyone really like this film? It was so damn fucking stupid. Like, I still remember it. It's just so fucking dumb. Like, what the hell? This is the film that pretty much went all downhill for Marvel. Like, Brie Larson is a mistake to becoming Captain Marvel. Like, even people literally make a joke that, well, some kind of superheroes have their nemesis, like Batman has Joker, Superman has pretty much Lex Luthor, and Captain Marvel has Brie Larson. This is kind of it, because oh my god, was she, as I stated before, just a plague. She was so boring. And I don't know why MIB, which is Monster Island Brothers, actually liked this actor, because, well, sure, she kind of was some interesting in other films that isn't Marvel, but when, like Kong Skull Island, but when she was in Marvel, her true colors showed, and boy, she should have shut her mouth, because this is just so damn. A pile of stinky, pile of nonsense that's just a bad inclusion. And I do love that. And of course, Shang-Chi, which is overrated as shit. Even China think this film actually, Shang-Chi looks ugly. And this is an Asian ad, and the fact that China said it always looks ugly? Oh my god, I do love the roast. Oh, I do love that. And I know that some people kind of like this because of the martial arts, but even the martial arts, I know, this looks so fucking dumb. I mean, what the fuck? And of course, the ball kick. The jokes are so damn pathetically bad. And this story, what may look awesome first, but then later on, it's not awesome anymore. It's just, first impressions is always a bit of a lie, because second impression is something that is true. And this, oh boy, what a waste of a villain. I mean, did like the villain, but then it just got wasted with another bullcrap perfect villain that they literally changed. And this is the Phase 4 was literally the kind of act of reshot reshootings, and all that sort of stuff. So this film pretty much flopped in box office. And now we got the worst of the worst. My favorites, just to show how horrendous these films are and just how to show the true colors of Marvel MCU. I mean, I just put in this film because Sony kind of didn't get the joke about the more billion-dollar joke, which is a joke. They should have thought about it because this literally bombed twice. Morons. Yeah, this is a bad film. And this is a film, Black Widow, that Scarlett Johansson pretty much sued Disney. And I can see why, because this is just nothing but feminist propaganda, political nonsense, and of course a villain that they literally changed gender just to have this political nonsense. And of course that was, just representation, just... I mean, they had a stunt double that literally is a male, and he did amazing. But it just got ruined when they literally did the worst reveal ever. Like, my goodness. And of course, killing a fucking prison camp. Just so damn stupid. All this thing. And of course, the era of films that they literally have a female villain that literally is just evil. And they just, well, make her sympathetic and just being, kind of this, just like Mulan, kind of sacrifice and literally trying to be more reasonable and then having the male being more evil, kind of nonsense. Which all these films have in common. Because Loki, oh boy, that is just the beginning of the end. Because my goodness, this is also the show that literally pretty much confirmed that all the previous film, they had no free will. I'm sorry. Are you saying that Kang literally wrote all this shit? And there's no kind of a free will in these films? That is so fucking stupid. And this is also Kevin Feige. And of course other having actors or kind of directors that and writers that are not even comic book fans, and they also some are activists. And this shit shows because, my goodness, female version of Loki, they literally tried to make this kind of, oh my god, yeah, she is great, kind of nonsense, which is just so fucking dumb. They should just fucking stop. This is just Disney just trying to destroying themselves. And this film, and this show, it shows. Oh boy. And I don't get why people are really liking it. They are just, well, brainwashed Marvel fans. Yeah, pull the goddamn job with the Hong and brainwashed Transformers fans. What of it? Fight me. And of course, Love and Thunder. Holy shit, this is the film that literally, let's spice things up. This is the film that literally confirmed Taika Waititi's true colors. Never was a comic book fan or Marvel fan, or literally butchering and kind of ruining, well, kind of literally just fucking disrespecting of fucking religious and kind of Norse mythology and religious mythology kind of stuff. I may be an atheist, but even then I respect fucking religious stuff as equals. And Norse and all of these mythology are interesting things that you can literally develop your own and actually expand it to make great more stuff. But instead you just shit it over just to trying to make some jokes with, and of course these jokes are just the worst, and there's a lot. And they literally butcher the Force goats, which are part of mythology, and they're just making a goddamn meme, the dead meme out of it, which the screaming ghosts, which the ghosts don't really scream like that because there's actually just a person that just screams over the overall ghost just to convince people they screams ghosts like that, which modern films literally just cannot help themselves, do they? And of course, the actor who pretty much played Jay, I think it was like, hold on. I need to make sure. Yeah, I think it was Natalie Portman, because she kind of responded that this film was the gayest film ever. Oh my god, even she would admit. Because, man, the way they kind of butchered this kind of female Thor, which they just called her Mighty Thor, which is another one of those comic book characters that literally sold by 1,000, but they literally also made her even worse than the comics. But like they literally butchered her comic version, which these, like Black Panther, like Shuri, then 4 characters. I mean, they literally became that because the actual characters just went absent. They literally just went absent, and they just took them out before they came back. And considering they just went and go shit, and of course making Chris Hemsworth for being a himbo, that's just a disrespectful thing. And of course, the actor who pretty much played, Kristen Bell, who literally played Gore, pretty much played Gore, they literally butchered that character. Like, what the hell did they do? Like, this is not something that you should have done. I mean, Kristen Bell is a great actor, and then you just pull this nonsense? Like, bruh, what the fuck? I mean, even they literally mentioned that one of them literally looks like the Addams Family. Like, what? Yeah, Uncle Fester. He literally looked like Uncle Fester. Like, instead of looking like the badass looking Gore, he literally is like a god because both gods literally fight each other, to just looking like an Uncle Fester who literally just, again, a sympathetic villain who lost a daughter, and they're just sort of trying to do nonsense. And then they literally just doing this kind of, another one of those reshoots where they literally just did that nonsense, like the Eternity, which is, again, in the Marvel comics, as I stated, it's an abstract entity which literally embodies Marvel Universe itself. I mean, it's literally a being, not something that you just wish for. And here's also the thing, if that is the case that you can make a wish with the fucking Bifrost kind of thing, like, wouldn't that make sense to have that in the fucking Marvel Universe? They just make shit up. That's literally what makes this film kind of a shit bag. The more you think about it, the more it makes less sense. And of course, how dumb it is. And of course, Valhalla. My goodness, how they butcher Valhalla. Like, Valhalla is not just a realm that they literally get resurrected. Valhalla is just a place, a garden, where it's located in Asgard. When great warriors die greatly in battle, can they be resurrected to Valhalla? And of course, when they do, they are in Asgard, or literally in the Garden of Valhalla, so they can prepare themselves to Ragnarok. And guess what? Valhalla was destroyed in Asgard. This movie is shit. And of course, we have She-Hulk, which they literally butchered this legacy character. I mean, they should have had, just like Black Widow, they should have gone with the X-rated, kind of rated X, sexy, badass, and actual adventure-feeling character that had character and actual good stuff. They went for political nonsense, feminist propaganda shit. That female character, strong women can do anything without any help of men, like kind of stuff, like without even getting help by a guy at all. Like, this is just so damn fucking lazy and just so juvenile thinking. Like, this is just, and they literally butchered flipping Daredevil. Like, this is, they literally made Daredevil walk of shame. And now, the more I think about this stuff, and the more all this stuff happens, well, their reputation has gone down wire. And I don't know why people are buying their stuff. Like, people, I get what you want to buy good figures, but you should stop fucking buying this to actually supporting these kind of garbage things. Sorry, that guy. Like, these are fucking awful characters representation of beloved characters. If you actually want a actual good She-Hulk or good story of fucking Black Panther or Namor, read the comics. They are better suited and actually good time. Better good things and actually makes your time worth than watching these fucking awful series and films. They are not good. And you are just damn. Oh boy. You are just no idea what the hell is happening, do you? And of course I do just look up what the hell is happening without even. And I also want to be spoiled just so I don't want to watch these crappy films. I know some people just don't want to look up just to get spoiled, but I do this because I don't want to support a pile of garbage film. I'm saying it. You should actually fucking do some fucking good stuff instead of just watching bad films all the time. It's bad for your health and bad lessons as well. Such as Eternals, which is just a comic franchise that nobody knows about, but even then they just chase it anyway just to have some, well, diversity and fucking representations, and of course fucking woke stuff, and of course political nonsense, of course gay moments and all that sort of stuff, because they had no good story and characters, because the characters are just pretty much cardboard cutouts. Nothing of them are pretty much enjoyable, and of course even some actual main leads are just plain planks. They just have no emotions, and they also wasted David Cage's performance with one of the Celestials. Like, yes, the Celestial is impressive, but it's so damn too big. I mean, I may not know too much, but I do research, and then it stated that Celestials are supposed to kind of be like, I don't know, just fucking 7,000 meters, not as big as a fucking planet. And what did they even do in this kind of stuff? And this Celestial that is literally dead on their fucking Earth, like, did they even bring it up? No, because it's just so forgettable, and the VFX is just so damn bad. Like, holy crap. And of course, another one of the ways that they just fucking forget about it. But that's not where the things goes to shit. Because the worst of the worst of Phase 4 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, when they literally said that what they are in Earth 616 to another dimension. So the MCU, they trying to convince us are literally Earth 616. You literally destroyed a good comic book, literally the overall comic franchise, just to place that fucking stupid name, onto a stupid franchise that's pretty much now fucking dead. MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not the comics. It's never been. It could have been literally have some influence of the comics, but should also have a different kind of execution. But instead, they place the name Earth 616 from the comics to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They do not feel the fucking same. Let me just say that. They are. That universe that we're literally witnessing, that's literally trying to be, well, fucking the sacred timeline bullcrap. It's not fucking Earth 616. You cannot convince me that. And of course, Sam Raimi, what the fuck did you do? You should have kept this original script. And actually, they should have actually built up Scarlet Witch instead of just having her being the villain immediately, because we literally had Mordor, which we would have had then pretty much built up, and they just had a little scene with it. She just killed him off. Are you mental? And of course, boy, America Chavez is just a nuisance. And of course, her reasoning why her mother's pretty much disappeared, which of course is just another comic character that's literally was from not even a legacy character, and just was from a comic series that literally just sold by thousands. And she only got the power because she was done by a bee. Screamed at the bee. Oh my fucking god. And of course, all the consistencies of all the things that happen in the film, it makes no fucking sense. And Wong pretty much fell from the fucking building to the side. It should have even the same impact of hitting the ground. He should have been dead. Even falling from the fucking building of some fancy kind of castle, which he should have died. Of course, you can make the excuse of it looks cool, but just because it's cool doesn't make it good. It just doesn't make sense, and you should not make that kind of nonsense. And of course, Illuminati, they just fucking ruined those characters, haven't they? Just having fan service and then just kill them off because they said fuck you. That is not good fan service, because they just do one of those feminist bullcrap again. Sam Raimi, I'm really questioning about your fucking logic. And of course, Kevin Feige as well. They both are guilty about this film. They're both fucking involved with this film, and they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. And of course, I do know that they realize how crap it is, but it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make up that it's still fucking bullcrap reasoning to think that they actually make things better now, because they didn't. Because now we have Quantumania, which, oh my god, oh boy, is this a stinking pile of crap that literally flopped. I'm not supporting this pile of nonsense that this is just a joke. And before you say about the Kang character, which the actor is actually enjoyable, but we're not gonna enjoy a actor. We're supposed to enjoy a character, and the writing of that character and Kang itself is so fucking stupid. And the reason is that Kang is being just as fierce as Thanos, like in the comics, he is not even that fucking important, that threatening in the comics. Like, he's not as powerful as fucking Thanos. Like, no one would even think of him as a threat. He just fucking exists there, and just even then, Thanos was even more of a threat in the comics and even MCU, and they just fucking make bullshit reasons. And MODOK, what the hell did they do to you, buddy? My goodness. And this is also another thing where they literally backseats Ant-Man. And of course, Casey, they just pretty much recast her to make her an activist and one of those girl bosses, and of course, not a dumb reasons, and of course being a brilliant inventor for no reason, for bullcrap reasons, and of course having socialism, pretty much socialist ants. They literally have fucking communisms in fucking escapism film, which this is not longer escapism, it's just political bullcrap. And they also flopped in the box office in China. there you have it, folks. MCU is no longer dying, it's now fucking dead. And don't give me bullcrap that the next film, which is going to be, well, they're supposed to be the long-awaited well, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't expect this to be a good film. Sure, you may make the assumption that it may be the last good Marvel film that we ever got. But I already said that with Spider-Man, and it turned out to be not good at all. I mean, good fan service, but good film? No. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and considering what James Gunn has been doing the past few months, I don't expect this film to be good at all. I expect this to flop. And yeah, right now, the MCU is just a big old joke. I don't see any enjoyment in this kind of franchise anymore. The only thing I kind of find enjoyment now is with the comics. And they are more respectable and more actually a good thing to read now than watching these films. They're more worth your time than fucking watching these films. They just had a great build-up that they then later on butchered. Because that's Disney and modern Marvel, because Marvel literally died 2009 when they were bought by Disney. And Star Wars was long dead in 2012. Because later when they literally had built up Star Wars, they ruined afterwards with Abraham Kennedy. Hold on. What was her name again? I know her name was Kennedy. No, Kathleen Kennedy, which pretty much ruined the Star Wars in general, and that also was the one that pretty much brought in the Me Too kind of movement, which pretty much failed. And of course, the nonsense, of course, having Rey Palpatine, I'm not gonna call her Rey Skywalker because it's just fucking stupid, which Rey is just a Mary Sue. And they trying to have in female characters, strong female characters, not actually good written female characters, and good written characters in general. Now it's just fucking strong political, feminist propaganda, strong female characters. Yes, diversity, representation, political nonsense, and Kevin Feige. Yeah, I don't expect the Marvel Cinematic Universe to be good again. Ever again. Don't get your hopes up. It's not gonna be good. I'm gonna call it. If I have low expectation of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And high expectation is gonna suck. If I'm wrong that it's gonna be good, then maybe it will be a good film. But if it turns out to be a bad film, an awful film that's just another one of those nonsense, then I pretty much called it. Mark my words. Because this is a lesson to be learned, because as time itself, people always like to repeat time. Every single time. They always like to repeat history. And you will see next time, my folks, because only time will tell when what the outcome will be. This is CyberKnight-Miky, and this overall with this film being good and mid, which I should have swapped this, but right now it's just as it is. This is CyberKnight-Miky signing off.